To understand some context for the Opium War, you first have to understand that after the Revolutionary War, Great Britain was left in kind of an impoverished state due to America being one of its most profitable colonies. So, to offset this, they decided to shift their trade to somewhere else.
Since ancient times, China had been well known for its luxury goods like tea and porcelain, which the British were very keen on importing. But the British were unable to obtain these, much due to being dwarfed by the Chinese economically, and as well as being beholden to several Chinese trade restrictions, such as being forced to limit their trade to the port of Canton, as well as following the rules and regulations of the Hong monopoly in Canton. Enter George Macartney, a British diplomat and previously the governor of several British colonies. In order to possibly gain access to better trade in China, Macartney decided on an unorthodox method. Instead of going to a trade city and talking with the representatives of the Chinese bureaucracy, he decided to skip the ports and take a ship to Beijing, straight to the emperor. Improbably, Macartney was able to secure an audience with the emperor. Here, we see a live-action reenactment of this, courtesy of the Quigley Historical Theater Company.
Oh, hey, it's the British dude.
Greetings, your emperorliness.
Greetings, you Emperor. Aren't you gonna kowtow? No.
Why?
I'm the Emperor, man.
I mean, I don't kowtow to my king in England.
What do you do here? Kowtow.
No, it's stupid. Why?
But just kowtow.
I'm not gonna.
No, just do it.
No, dude.
Just do it.
Dude, I'm not gonna.
You're gonna do.
No, that's ridiculous. Why would I kowtow?
Dude, just kowtow.
No. What if I kiss your hand like I do to my king in England?
Think about that. Sure, why not? I'm gonna kiss. Anyway, so let's discuss this tribute arrangement you want.
Let's discuss trade. Oh yes, trade. Yes, trade. Of course. We brought you a few items here that we would be interested in trading with. Yeah. So ask him what he thinks of this trade agreement.
What do you think about this tribute?
This tribute is very nice. I like the tribute a lot, you know.
He likes to trade with them.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like this has been very productive.
Yeah.
He feels like it was not productive at all.
Well, I think it was very productive. I'm glad that we've opened a tribute partnership between us. And
He likes you and he wants your wife.
You know, on second thought, this tribute is nice and all, but I think we have enough knickknacks and stuff from our other tributaries. We don't need more tributes.
He likes the items you brought.
He likes the items you brought? Yeah. Oh, nice. Yeah, thanks. Trading relationship opened.
Unsurprisingly, Macartney did not secure a trade deal with China. Chapter 2. The Honourable British East India Company. Britain also needed something to finance their acquisition of tea in China. At the time in India, the East India Company was growing cotton for the British textile industry and being greatly outcompeted by American and Egyptian cotton. So, in order to keep itself profitable, the British East India Company transitioned to another crop, one that grew splendidly in Indian soil and one that would allow them to negotiate themselves into the Chinese market, the opium poppy. Opium was still illegal in China, however, and therefore the only way it could reach the Middle Kingdom was through smugglers. Even with this restriction, the British still manufactured 10,000 crates of opium, which they were able to sell for high prices. These smugglers proved competent, being able to spread opium into large parts of China. A brief interlude about opium. Opium, a product derived from poppies, was originally developed for various medical uses. When burned and the smoke inhaled, it acts as an opiate to produce an euphoric high. The active compound in opium is morphine, still extracted from poppies for use as a painkiller today. Other forms of opium include the concentrated tincture invented in the 19th century known as laudanum. However, The main reason why opium was becoming a large problem in China were the negative side effects of ingesting opium in large amounts, which included inhibited muscle movement, constipation, dried out mouth and mucous membranes, seizures, slow breathing, dizziness, coma, and eventually death. Chapter 3. China's Response. So, naturally, Chinese bureaucrats and the emperor wanted to end the usage of the drug within China. So they employed the bureaucrat Lin Zexu to be harsh on the opium trade within the port cities of China. Zexu cracked down on the drug, destroying drug dens, arresting users, and finally burning 2 million British pounds worth of opium on the beaches of Canton. In today's money, this comes out to around £178.8 million, or around $242 million. Enter Charles Elliot, the British Superintendent of Trade with China at the time. Elliot was a British official who wanted to keep trade to China open for the British economy, but didn't like how the British were exploiting the Chinese by intentionally addicting them to opium. But to satisfy the merchants for their considerable losses, he tried to get Parliament to compensate them for the £2 million lost. This sum was about a fourth of all British military spending at the time, so Parliament was quick to decline. Chapter 4. Further tensions. Tensions escalated further when several British men killed a Chinese man in Canton, and Charles Elliot decided to charge the men under British law instead of Chinese law. Zexu was furious about this, and as a response had the Portuguese kick the British out of their other trading ports and restricted them to trade in Hong Kong. Zexu further punished the British by cutting off their supplies, but this did little to stop the conflict, as on September 4th, 1839, a merchant ship running supplies to Hong Kong got into an altercation, first with another British ship firing a warning shot, then a Chinese admiral and his fleet, who arrived after hearing the commotion. This event marked the beginning of the First Opium War. The British dominated in this battle and quickly started building up their supplies to prepare for more violent confrontation. This led to Lin Zexu being fired and an official named Qishan replacing him. The British ultimately ended up wiping the floor in the following battles due to the power of their new steamships, and the following treaty would leave China humiliated. However, the British felt that they were not getting enough from the treaty. The following is a recreation of historical events featuring Lord Palmerston, the British Prime Minister at the time, and Charles Elliot, courtesy of Quigley Historical Theatre Productions.
I mean, this treaty is just a failure, isn't it?
How? We got like so much money out of it.
That's pennies compared to what we could have gotten. What about opening up trade ports, or... legalizing opium?
I got victory in China with almost like no casualties, except for the ones that died.
You're fired.
Neither side ended up signing the treaty. Lin Zexu and Qishan both did not want for violence to break out, but with them fired, the Chinese would fan the flames by shelling the British in Canton. Britain responded by leading a military campaign up the rivers of China, taking fort after fort until they reached the capital, much like a snake crawling through the pipes of a toilet. The ultimate goal of the British was not to take the capital, however, nor even the city of Nanking. They just needed to have the trade cities open up again. Fearing absolute domination, the emperor decided to negotiate in hopes of securing a reasonable agreement. The resulting treaty would surrender Hong Kong completely to the British and open 5 ports for British trading, as well as giving £21 million in reparations to Britain, which the British would then use to purchase their precious tea. The only things the Chinese wouldn't agree to, however, were the allowance of Christian missionaries into China or the legalization of opium. This treaty, called the Treaty of Nanjing, would be the first of many so-called unequal treaties between the Chinese and European powers. It also marked what is known in Chinese history as the Century of Humiliation. This pattern of European dominance of China would also lead to the establishment of heavy European spheres of influence, the Boxer Rebellion, and the Second Opium War. All events which the Chinese Communist Party would later use to show the people how poorly the Qing dynasty was managing the state, and therefore to attain public favor for itself. While the Opium Wars may seem like a mere blip on history's radar, they represent the reversal of a millennia-long trade balance and power balance between Europe and China.